This is Viva Fry.
I'm Dr. Peter McCullough.
This is Tom Luongo.
This is Chuck Prodnick.
This is Alex Kreiner.
Hey, this is Brad Wall.
This is JP Sears.
Hi, this is Frank Peretti.
This is Tammy Peterson.
This is Danielle Smith.
This is James Lindsay.
Hey, this is Brett Kissel, and you're listening to the Shaun Newman Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. Happy Thursday. Well, this is a first. We got the first ever video Brothers Roundtable. I thought I'd release it on an actual day this time around, as it is the final one of the season. And before we get there, well, how about we talk about the number of ounces of silver needed to buy an ounce of gold at 30-year highs? Well, silver is now bargain priced when compared to gold. It's a perfect time to protect a portion of your savings with silver, and Silver Gold Bull has a wide variety of best value silver for every budget. Simply text or email Grahame for details. Whether you're a seasoned investor or new to precious metals, Grahame will work with you to answer all your questions and recommend the best products to meet your investing goals. All you got to do is go down the show notes, text them, or email them for details about any feature, including this one, or any questions you may have around buying, selling, storing, or using your retirement accounts to invest in precious metals. Guardian Plumbing and Heating, they've been keeping homes, farms, and businesses running smoothly since 2010. One of the things that really sets them apart is how they make life easy for all of you. They've got technicians on shift from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every single day, including weekends, and they don't charge you anything extra for evening or weekend service. That means you can get the help you need and on your schedule without worrying about any surprise costs. And farmers, when it comes to efficient grain dryers, well, Guardian power stations aren't just available here. They're available all across Canada. The power station is an absolute game changer, giving you 2-for-1 utilities, heat and electricity from the same reliable system. It's an innovative way to keep your operation running smoothly and efficiently and save on energy costs. So whether it's expert service, cutting-edge power solutions, or advice you can trust, Guardian Plumbing and Heating has your back. Just go to www.guardianplumbing.ca. Ignite Distribution, they're a high-service supply company based in Wainwright, Alberta, specializing in automotive parts and a wide range of additional products, including safety equipment, welding supplies, fasteners, and janitorial items. Operating as a Napa Auto Parts retailer, the company has expanded in Wainwright to a location of a size of 15,000 square foot facility, fully stocked to meet your needs. And, well, when you're looking for that, don't look any further than Shane Stafford. That's who runs it, 780-842-3433. You'll find a few better than Shane, and he has been a fantastic supporter of the podcast and our community, I might add. So look to Ignite Distribution out of Wainwright, Alberta. Substack, free to subscribe to. It is a way to get a little behind the scenes. I just did a live a couple days ago for paid subscribers, so a little behind the scenes of what's going on with the podcast and this lead up here as we get ready to head off on holidays with the family, and just some different things going on in the background that you wouldn't be privy to on this side of things. So if you're interested in that, head over to Substack. It's all down in the show notes how to get there. The new podcast studio coming here in 2025. We've got a legacy, a value for value wall being built, and I want your name on it or your company's name on it. And so we're looking actively for partners or participants or people who believe in what the show represents, maybe. And if you want to be a part of that build, there's still time to offer skills, labor, materials, money, and beyond that wall. Just shoot me a text and I can give you some more details. There's been more and more names being added. Actually, as I say this, I can hear Kevin in my head. He's like, it'd be nice to hear some of the new people that have been on. And the latest is Patrick and Karen. I hope I'm saying this right, Hustis, and shout out to them. They e-transferred some money for the studio and obviously to get their names on the wall. Leaf and Becky Anderson, Dexter Nelson, Earl Wally, Seth Bloom, Ben Trudeau, Scott and Alana Roten, Nancy Fleming, Don Valiant, Morley Muldoon, Grant Milner, Tom Eichert, Kevin Damon, Ralph Damon, Louis Stang, Scott Petrie, Kirby Cohen, Dallas Zemmer, Robert Villeneuve, Warawa. So there you go. And then there was some people that came out to lend a hand. A few, like my brother Harley and his son Mason, actually, and his daughter Ayla, Ken Rutherford and Theo Rutherford, Joe Rutherford, Jonas Hagel, and the list just goes on and on and on. So there's lots of people. Cam Grabowski and Jim Henderson came out when we were cutting trees and just lended, about 4 hours of work, honestly, but it was greatly appreciated. So there's lots of different ways to be a part of the new studio. And if any of that speaks to you, shoot me a text. We'll see what the next looks like. August, we're going to have another cleanup of the yard, so to speak. We had some problems with some trees we were worried about, so we chopped down some trees. That's a way to give an afternoon away and come lend a hand, to part of that build. So if any of that helps you out, shoot me a text. I can give you more details. If you're listening or watching on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Rumble, make sure to subscribe. On X, hit the retweet button. Leave a review and share with a friend. Now, let's get on to that tale of the tape. We are four brothers spread over 10 years, lifelong Oiler fans, far from experts but will argue like we are. The golden child, the birdman, the engineer, and the big man. Another Brothers Roundtable. So buckle up, here we go. Okay, well, welcome to the Shaun Newman podcast. It's the Brothers Roundtable. Carry on.
So, if you're the most powerful person in the entire world, right? And there's arguments that there's backroom deals, and I've heard Luongo and everybody else, right? At some point, you got to draw a line in the sand, just make a stand to make sure everybody knows that you've got balls and that you're the most powerful person and strongest person in the world.
So maybe, but what came out since we talked this afternoon was Trump came out and said, this was 12 days war. There's now a ceasefire. Peace will reign after this. Good to go. So that's what Trump came out and said. I just read a couple minutes ago that Israel's launching missiles towards Iran and Iran is mobilizing.
So what is the point of saying that? It's just to say that the States is done?
I guess so. I don't know. See, here's the thing that everyone thinks about Trump is that he's either an idiot or he's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it and go, maybe he's just a man and he's not near as skilled. Like, he's not an idiot, but he's not near as skilled as what some people think he is.
Right.
He's really good at promoting himself.
And he may be almost 80 years old.
Well, that's another part of it as well, right? Maybe he's not as brilliant as everyone thinks he is, and then he makes mistakes along the way because he's just a man.
on the round table here talking about the others.
I don't know. I bet you he'd overtake the conversation, though.
Right? Well, I don't know. I think we'd push back pretty hard.
Yeah, maybe.
That's your invite, Donald Trump.
Can you imagine Donald Trump on a Brothers Roundtable talking sports?
You know who we should get on? Don Cherry.
Don Cherry. You know what? I have a throwback. So in July, I was actually just telling Substack about it, and I've been saying it on the podcast now all week, and I'll reiterate it here, that in July, I slow down, right? So I go Monday, Wednesdays, new episodes, and no Tuesday for the month of July. And then it's going to be a throwback Thursday this year. So the first throwback I'm doing is Don Cherry. I just listened to it. It was pretty cool. Pretty surreal moment to have him on. I did via Skype phone. I had to figure out how I was going to record a phone call. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay, don't bungle this. You can figure it out. So I had him call Skype, and I recorded through Skype back then. And it's still surreal to hear him say, well, I mentioned Harley right at the start, and he brings up Harley like 3 or 4 times. And I just chuckle about that because back then, Harley would call me pretty much every day to go through the episode I'd listen to. So
now he can't even show up to the round table.
Yeah. In fairness, we recorded this morning.
I had some great points too. I'm just not going to be near as good here.
I was on point as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I was too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I won a silver coin. Actually, I won 6 silver coins in that episode. Anyways,
speaking of which,
did you guys hear about Don Cherry? He actually did his last podcast today and signed off.
Well, I'd been in touch with his team, and they told me he was, because people have been asking me to bring Don Cherry on. It'd be amazing to get him back on. And so I'd reached out, and they just said he's no longer doing podcasts. Well, he's 91, right?
Yeah.
He signed off from his own podcast today. He's not going to do anymore.
That's got to be a tough day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Speaking of silver coins, we give out a silver coin every time somebody's in studio, and with the Brothers Roundtable, much to the chagrin of Nick from Silver Gold Bull, because he's like, I don't know. Do I want to sit there and listen to you yahoos talk Oilers for 2 months? But hey, Silver Gold Bull. Silver coin to Jay.
If Calgary made the playoffs, we might actually have to talk about them.
This is true. A couple thoughts. So I won 2 silver coins. And I tied for first in the other two. I am practically 4 for 4.
Practically.
Practically 4 for 4, he says on the old silver coin, except you're not. All right, you
know.
got 2.
I got 2 stolen away from me. I will say this about the Flames, is we could dedicate, a minute. Hey? Like, we could dedicate a minute and a half to the Flames, go over quickly what their strategy is.
Sure.
I'll tell you, I was thinking about it on the way over. The Calgary Flames, they have maybe the best young goalie coming up. Agreed? And Dustin Wolf? Right? Like, he may be the next guy that's top 10 goaltender in the league. Like, he looked really good last year. So if you build from the net out, what's your next guy? A defenseman. Who's the best defenseman available in the UFA trade?
Ekblad.
Why wouldn't the Flames go after Ekblad? Can you imagine putting Ekblad in the middle of that lineup? It would look pretty good.
There's going to be a lot of teams in on Ekblad. Here's a question. Who's going to get chased harder from that Florida lineup? Ekblad
Or Sam Bennett?
Or Marchand?
Not Marchand. Not Marchand.
Not
He's
Marchand.
So Bennett and Ekblad are in the prime of their careers.
Yeah.
Just won two Stanley Cups.
And Sam Bennett was the Conn Smythe winner.
That's right. So who's are the teams going to chase or is it going to be the same?
I guess a little bit depends on which team, right? I mean, if you got a team with 2 or 3, like if you look at Dallas, I'm going after Bennett.
Yes.
Because I mean their defense is pretty legit. But you gotta lean. It gets harder to find good defensemen, top pair defensemen, isn't it? So isn't Ekblad a legit top pair defenseman?
He's a rare commodity,
right? Like I think
defensemen. He should have more suitors immediately. It doesn't mean that people won't go after Sam Bennett.
Which team isn't going after Ekblad? And apologies with maybe the Dallas Stars, but like which team isn't? Like I would expect 25 teams to be in on Ekblad, wouldn't you? Like, if I'm the GM of the Oilers, the Seattle Kraken, the Vancouver Canucks, the New York Islanders, pick your poison. Are you not at least phoning the agent saying, what's he looking for?
If we're looking historically at Ekblad, who's he comparable to when it comes to, like, how good is he? Like, if are we talking Chris Pronger good? Or not quite to that level?
He might be similar to that might be not a bad comparison. The knock on Ekblad so far in his career is he hasn't been healthy.
Injuries.
That's been the big knock. But he is miserable, and he is a big man. Yeah. He's got some offense, right? Very Chris Pronger-like in a lot of them.
Because the only reason I asked that is because Chris Pronger joined the Oilers, and they went to the Cup final.
Yeah.
And then they got rid of him, and they didn't make the playoffs the next year.
Ekblad
was that good.
So if you look at Ekblad over his career with the Florida Panthers, since 2014-15, he's played 81 games 3 times. 81, 82, 82, and he had a 71. Everything else is and a 78, I should say. But his last couple of years, 56, 51, 71, 61, 35, 67.
You're starting to get my drift. He's not, and that's the knock. But at the same time, when you look at, so if we go to the Oilers, you plug him in the lineup for 60 games during the regular season, if you can have him there for the playoffs, I think he's a game changer.
How much is he going to get? 10?
Mm-hmm.
Is he 10 million?
Well, if Bush is going to get 9.5, 10, Ekblad's getting 10, isn't he?
I think he is because there's so many teams out there that could legitimately use that guy. And even guys that are looking to, like, if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, could you use Ekblad?
Yes.
Right? If you're the New York Rangers, could you use him?
Well, the answer is yes.
If you're the Winnipeg Jets, could you use
Ekblad?
So who's going to be the highest bidder? Now, it's probably going to come down to probably 3 things. One, it's got to be a team that can win because he's not going to go from winning 2 cups to some,
to the Seattle Blackhawks. To the Seattle Kraken.
Fair. Second, it's got to be money, right? And then the third thing is does he have a preference on divisions or anything like that? Like, does it matter? Does it matter if he's going
from Florida to Edmonton?
Yeah.
That does matter.
Yeah.
Right? That'd be a tough pill to swallow. You'd be having to get
So how much is Bennett getting then?
I still...
Is he getting 10?
Okay, well, if I'm the Edmonton Oilers, I'm not paying Bennett 10. I'm not.
But will someone pay him 10?
Maybe again, the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't know. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs, in reality, could sit there and go, we are dropping $11 million centerman and go pick up Bennett for $10 million. We think we're a step ahead in the playoffs, and we saved $1 million.
Sam Bennett would actually look nice in a Toronto Maple Leafs uniform.
He's exactly the guy they need. Exactly. So Ekblad and Bennett and Marchand all come out and they all want to roll it back again, and I don't blame them. And if I'm Florida, I'm taking a shot at it. And Florida has an advantage because they don't have the income tax. But there's going to be some suitors there. And even for Brad Marchand, see, I think, obviously Ekblad we've talked about a ton for the Oilers, which would be your first choice, which we just said is probably the marquee guy. But if you don't get him, Marchand will look nice in Oiler colors.
How much is Marchand going for, though?
He can't be going for that much, can he?
Can he go for a lot on a short-term deal? Like, would some team give him $8 million a year for 2 years, or $7 million for 3 years?
Would you give Marchand $8 million?
He just lit it up in the playoffs.
I know, but you don't buy it the high dust.
No, I realize that, but you got 32 teams.
But the Edmonton Oilers. So let's pick on the Edmonton Oilers for a sec. They are win now mode right now, right? So if they could convince Marchand to come for $8 million a year, just for argument's sake right now, which is Jeff Skinner and Evander Kane combined. Okay, so now you got Marchand in the lineup for 2 years. Do they take that plunge? And he comes in next year. He gets to play with Draisaitl.
I agree.
Or McDavid. So does he come in next year, score 30 and 30 for 60 points, and now you got him for the playoffs? I don't know. Or do you want to go get who's all the other guys out there? Right?
I don't know.
Do you want to pay Tavares $8 million, or you want to pay Marchand $8 million? Do you want to go pay Patrick Kane $8 million? You want to play Marchand $8 million? Which guy is the guy that you want game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Well, defenseman by far is Ekblad. Forward, it's by far Bennett.
Yes.
Those are your two marquee guys.
And your Marchand's kind of that guy that I think could help that's underneath them two guys.
That's right.
Well, he got hid by the top lines of Florida and played exceptionally well on Florida's third line, correct?
Yep. But,
right?
I mean, there was games they drove that series.
Well, I tell you what, him turning, which defenseman did he turn inside out?
Ekholm.
Wallman,
and then Ekholm.
And then Ekholm.
That's right. Like, it wasn't just him, making a pass because he had good line mates playing against the underbelly of the Oilers. No, he, beat Wallman one-on-one and buried, and then he beat Ekholm one-on-one and buried.
Yeah.
Those are no two
that
slouch
made a difference in the
defensemen.
series.
Yeah.
If you go back, okay, so we already hashed it out this morning, but of course none of that recorded, so we'll hash it over again.
And we sounded so great.
Yeah, so great.
Smart.
If you go back to the Stanley Cup Finals, right? We hadn't done an episode on the Brothers Roundtable for roughly 2 weeks, I think, right? We missed pretty much the entire Stanley Cup Finals. And if you go back, when we did our final one, it was tied. It was 1-0 Edmonton.
That's correct.
Because you said Florida was going to win the next two.
That's correct.
And then you predicted
laughed out the building.
And you predicted the fourth win too, and you were patting yourself on the back, saying the Oilers are going to come back and win four straight. And then you were wrong, right? So let's put that in there too, Jack. What did you think of the Stanley Cup Finals?
Well, I thought it was really good. 3 of the games went to overtime, but I think Florida was an amazing team. They walked all through the East and beat the Oilers in 6, and they were the better team by far in the last couple of games. Simple as that.
I thought it all started from July 1st last year, which was the Oilers went out and spent $7 million on Arvidsson and Skinner, who throughout the playoffs were healthy scratches and fourth line players. And you're trying to win now, and you're spending $7 million on that. They could have spent $4 million on Broberg and Holloway and had both them guys in the lineup, and still had $3 million to spare. And so I think they wrecked it right at the start, which we had discussed earlier today was not Bowman, but that was Jeff Jackson that did that.
Yeah, that wasn't Bowman.
So they can't make the same mistake. If you can get Ekblad or you can get Marchand or Bennett or maybe even Tavares, you could convince me of as that third line center or second line center if Draisaitl plays with McDavid. But there's a lot of guys there that are nice players. And one of the guys I brought up was Maggi, apparently, right? They're talking about him going to Winnipeg. And I'm going, okay, great. Like, is he going to move the needle for Winnipeg? Are they going to pick him up and they go, oh, now we're winning the cup?
As the Oilers, am I at all worried if Mangiapane is in Winnipeg when you play him?
So, I mean, if I'm the Oilers, I want to sit back and go, who do we have that we want to keep, which we talked about. Let's re-sign Bouchard. Let's just re-sign him. You go, run it back with the same defense and possibly the same goalie unless you can really find an upgrade.
He's an RFA, right? So you don't have to make a big splash and sign him for 8 years. You could sign him for a bridge deal, correct?
That's right, but they say that I was reading today, they think that if he went to, what do they call it when they arbitration, that he would get $10 million. So you're kind of stuck. They feel like so. What's he gonna sign for in a short-term deal? 2 years, 3 years at what? 8, 9, 10 million. Like you're almost better to sign him 10 times 8 and carry on with your life. You lock him in. You got Bouchard, you got Ekholm, you got Nurse, you got Wallman. If you can get Ekblad, then we talked about maybe you're trading Ekholm or
Darnell Nurse.
Right? And everybody's going to go Ekholm, but he's 35 years old, 1 year left.
With injuries that's
Right?
starting to
if
show.
you could replace him with Ekblad, who's won the Cup the last 2 years, you probably would. I'm not saying any of this is possible, but if I'm the Oilers, I'm going to go try and get Ekblad, and if I happen to land him, then I'm going to deal with the problem.
Well, and the other thing we talked about was Arvidsson, you got to move.
Got to move Arvidsson.
You need the cap space.
You got to move Evander Kane.
And then Evander Kane, I agree.
I just think there's something wrong there. And does he bring intangibles? He does. What is with at the end of the series, how there's things that always pop up around him. And I don't know if him and the room always get along. Like him and, you watch on the bench
That hasn't
sometimes.
been the case anywhere else, has it?
Oh,
with
never.
Evander Kane?
Yeah, no, not at all.
What were you talking? End of the series, what? You said end of the series, watching Evander Kane.
Well, he didn't shake hands or something at the lineup at the end of the series?
He didn't shake hands?
You know what? I'm not sure about that. Evander Kane
We
reminds
might
me
be starting a big old rumor.
Evander Kane reminds me of that guy who played for the Bulls a little bit.
Dennis Rodman?
Dennis Rodman, just a little bit. How it's all about Evander Kane all the time.
So now you're saying they should keep him because the Bulls won 6 championships.
Yeah, but what Rodman was a defensive workhorse, and Evander Kane is a defensive liability. That's his biggest.
I just think at 5, what is he, 5.2-ish, something like that? Like
5.13.
that's you tack on him and Arvidsson. Now you already got a $9 million player.
Yeah. No, I'm good with moving both of them. Quite honestly.
And honestly, I'm going to go out there and I'm really, really going to see who's available, especially with Ekblad, Marchand, and Bennett. That's the 3 I want.
Here's some other names. Here's the top 10 of the top UFAs. Mitch Marner.
Do you want Mitch Marner?
No.
He's a $12 million guy?
$12 million guy,
Ish?
probably.
No, carry on.
Okay.
John Tavares
Do you want Johnny T?
at 34 years old.
The problem is you're going to have to sign him too many years.
Okay.
Then you got Nikolai Ehlers.
I don't want Ehlers. He's injury prone for me. And he's exactly what we're trying to get away from. We already have that high-end talent with Nugent Hopkins and McDavid and Draisaitl and them guys. We're looking for...
Number 4 is Sam Bennett, which we've talked extensively about.
Yep.
Number 5 is Patrick Kane at 36.
Deadline acquisition.
What? Do you need another guy? Is there a power play the problem here?
I'm just saying, this is the guys. That's what I'm saying. Mason Marchment was just traded to the Kraken for a 3rd and a 4th. He's 6'5", scores 15 to 20 goals a year. Probably would score 30 playing with Draisaitl and McDavid.
Sure.
That's the guy you want.
Yeah. Like, in my mind, do you need another power play specialist? No. You already got a great
And
power
if you
play.
feel like you do, then get him at the trade deadline.
Brock Besser at 27
No, there's
years
been
old.
way too much history there in Vancouver. I don't know what's going on with them guys.
Aaron Ekblad's number 7.
Yes.
Jonathan Drouin is number 8.
Not a chance.
Claude Giroux at 37, not a chance.
No.
And number 10 they have on here is Mikael Granlund. Number 11 would be Brad Marchand.
Okay. How Marchand is a notch below Granlund. But anyways.
Wow. And Ekblad's not number 7.
So in our thing, Ekblad's number 1. And Mitch Marner, I understand why Mitch Marner's in the top 5. I do. So Ekblad, Marner, Bennett for sure 3 of my top 5.
Yes.
Ivan Provorov is out there, defenseman.
Yeah, he's an interesting defenseman. He kind of just fell off the map, didn't he?
Well, he didn't fall off the map. What happened was all the stuff with Pride, right? He was in Philly, and all that stuff came out because of his history. He was right in the time. There was a whole bunch of them. There was the goalie, and I'm forgetting.
So is he still a good defenseman?
I don't see why not.
Like, he's a legit top 4 guy.
Provorov? Yeah.
How old is he?
He is 28.
Played
82 games last season,
Up.
33 points.
What was his plus minus?
Oh, well. Give me a sec.
You brought this up earlier, and actually, the more I think about it, the more I like it. And you brought up Ekblad as being the replacement for him. But at where Ekholm is at and his injury issues, trading him now and signing a defenseman to replace him who's 28, for example, might be if you can make the money work, you probably get something back in return for Ekholm, and you're better off in the end.
I don't know if they'll do it.
No, because they like Ekholm a lot, and
I like Ekholm.
Here's
a
the
lot.
thing.
I do like Ekholm.
Okay. Ivan Provorov. He played for Philly for all those years. His last year with Philly was minus 17. Then he got traded. He went to Columbus. He was minus 11 his first year, and last year he was plus 11, 33 points. 7 goals, 26 assists, played all 82 games.
Like he'd be almost like another Wallman. You know what I mean? You'd fit him in, everybody's kind of forgot about him, and all of a sudden there's another top 4 guy.
Well, and he comes with a little bit of history where some clubs are going to be wary of him.
So I love Ekholm. Like, ever since I watched him play live, I'm like, that guy's a beast. But having said that, he's 35, 1 year left in his deal. If you could replace him with someone who's 28, because the problem is, are you re-signing Ekholm after this next year?
Right.
Probably not. If you move him or replace him with someone who's 28 on a deal that's similar, or, an Ekblad, it would be more. But
well, I know we're throwing around 8 to 10 million like it doesn't matter, but the cap is going up exponentially right now. And what used to be a $6 million defenseman is probably an $8 million defenseman, and in 2 years is going to be a $10 million defenseman. And so signing Ekblad for $10 million a year times 8 seems like a lot right now. But in a couple of years, you're going to look back and go, we got Bouchard and Ekholm as our 2 staples on our defense.
Ekblad, if you were to take him.
Ekblad and Bouchard is the 2 staples on defense. Yeah, we're spending $20 million on the 2 of them, but they're locked in for the next 8 years. Like they're your legit top pair.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
Well, and I think everybody who is an Oiler fan likes Ekholm. He's ever since we got him, he's been phenomenal. But you just look at it and you go, he's getting older. At some point, you're going to either have to sign an older D-man or trade him. And right now, you could probably get
something back for him.
And what were we saying earlier today? Oilers don't have a first or second this year?
No.
So they got nothing in the hopper.
Could you get a first for Ekholm at this point?
For sure, a second.
For sure. You might get a first.
I mean, if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, would you give the Oilers a first?
So the thing about it is, the last time you can really capture any value out of Ekholm is right now.
Yes.
Because you're not re-signing him after this, no. I don't think.
Or unless he comes in at a lesser deal or whatever.
Sure.
3-4 million.
Sure.
But at the same time, you could lose him easily.
Do you keep Ekholm because how he is and trade Nurse? Let's go to the other side of things. See, because Nurse now, you're almost going straight across for Ekblad, because Nurse is 9.2 and Ekblad you get for 10. We're using the $10 million.
Can you trade Nurse?
So you give up Nurse in your last pick this year, and you just don't make any picks. Right? They signed a guy. They signed a guy out of the Czech league and out of the Finnish or the Swedish league. So they got a couple of guys coming in. They got Savoy down the far. some prospect management there. The one guy they traded for, remember they traded, who was the guy they picked up that was in the first round? They traded Ottawa. They got that, was it Gerventi back or whatever? And he's going back to Europe. It's like they just have no prospects, eh? Yeah, it's win now, and then forever we'll be in the dark for about 20 years again.
Well, except we haven't won yet.
No.
Right?
Game 7, Game 6 in the finals.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've come awfully close, but you haven't won.
Yeah.
Right?
So you were talking about if you trade Henrique, Arvidsson, and Kane, you would then have $24 million. Now, if you threw in Nurse into that mix, okay? Let's say you could get the deal done.
How much of his contract?
So then you're at 30.
Are you saying the whole thing?
Let's say you got to eat $2 million. So let's say you're getting rid of 7. So now you're at $31 million. So now you're walking in at $31 million. And you sign Ekblad for 10.
Bouchard for 10.
Bouchard, well, yeah, but Bouchard for 10, yeah. So then that leaves you $11 million to fill out the rest of the lineup. But your defense is rock solid.
Everybody's going to point at goaltending.
Sure. And I read a thing today that there's a rumor now that they're going to try and make a deal with Vancouver for Thatcher Demko.
But Demko's got all the injury problems.
He does.
The problem is, if you look at the UFA list, like, it's not real deep on.
Jake Allen is the number one.
Jake Allen's the number one.
And he is not nobody's number one. Okay?
Well, I agreed. You're not going out and getting Jake.
And to be fair to Jake, shout out to Jake here. He's, what, 33?
I know.
It's not, it's not like he's a 26-year-old guy.
This is the problem right now, is there's no goaltenders
34.
on the market.
He's 34, sorry.
Jake Allen, the number one goalie on the top UFA, is 34.
Yeah. So essentially what you're doing is looking trade deadline and hope to pick up someone.
I think so. I think you go back to what I always repeat it from a guy said 3-4 years ago on Stauber's show is is your team good enough to make the playoffs? And it is, then you worry about it at the trade deadline. So Skinner and Pickard,
Yep.
that guy.
Pickard, Captain Pickard, yep.
Well, they're good enough to have him to get you.
Well, hell, I mean, Pickard in the playoffs was phenomenal until Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And in fairness, neither Oiler goalie could stop him, right? Like, you look at the finals, and you go, Florida was a great team. But, I mean, like, look at our noon hour game today, right? If you got goaltending that's lopsided, it can make any series seem like they weren't in it. Bobrovsky was freaking good in the entirety of the playoffs. But against the Oilers, they couldn't figure him out.
Do you realize Bobrovsky's won 2 Cups and 2 Vezinas?
Yeah.
Like, he's Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
Hey?
So, like, you know, like right now, you go, can the team get back to the playoffs? Well, if you kept it identical, it should.
Yeah.
It rolled through
Yeah.
the West minus the LA Kings.
The number one goalie, advanced stats in the playoffs, Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was lights out.
Yeah, I like the Oilers' chance to make the playoffs a lot better than the Flames. That's for sure. But the Flames do have a nice young goal. If I was the GM there, like, you may have one of the best goalies in the league here within a year or two. The Oilers cannot say that.
The Oilers have the best 2 players in the league. So the Flames might go, we take McDavid and Draisaitl, and you can have Wolf.
This is true. This is true.
Right? Like, you have – each team has their problems. The Florida Panthers right now, especially when they picked up Jones and Marchand, just have 0 problems. Like,
Yes.
their team from top to bottom was
Well,
ridiculous.
they went with how they were and then added more of it. And the Oilers didn't add what they didn't. Well, they didn't keep what they needed to keep because they should have kept Holloway and Broberg, and they didn't keep them. And then at the deadline, they're trying to replace them.
Florida had an amazing forecheck. They had an amazing forecheck. They put so much pressure.
Yeah, but yes, but I was watching and I'm like, okay, they do the same thing every single time. They walked in on the left side, rimmed the puck around to the right side, and if the Oiler defenseman, which it would have been difficult to pick it up clean, they just kept doing it. If the Oilers picked up clean, they'd stop them in the neutral zone and they'd hammer it back in on the left-hand side. Not the right-hand side, the left-hand side.
You know what I said to the Oilers defense? I'd say, you know what? They want to do that every time. Instead of being the first guy of the puck, because it's getting rimmed hard, be the second guy. So they're going to get it, and you're going to hammer them. And they're going to get it, and you're going to hammer them. And then I'm going to have my 6'4" defenseman running over Marchand and Luosterainen and Verhaeghe and Reinhart, and let them have the puck first. They want to ring it as hard as they can. They got to try and pick it up, and you're going to run them through the boards.
But
Really?
In fairness, right? We didn't change. Like, nothing got changed after like.
I would have tried it for one game.
After the second game, I'm like, they're literally doing the same thing over and over and over and over. If you're the goaltender, you almost could have just went and stood there, stopped it. Now that's where they dump it in and score on the net. But like, is that because like we always point to the LA Kings, and they have Skinner's number. They know he can't do lateral movement, so they wrap the puck over and over and over and over again, and then we have to go to Campbell. Or now Pickard, right? Somebody who can move side to side.
So where's Mike Smith when you need him?
Right. Somebody who can go out and just stop the puck over and over again.
Yeah.
Because the Oilers in the first couple rounds, what was amazing about it is their D controlled the play so well. I was shocked at how well the Oilers D played. Florida figured that out. We're just going to hammer around on the boards over and over and over again. We're going to stick to that game plan over and over.
Until they stop us.
Until they stop us.
Yeah.
Until they expose it.
And they're putting here's the thing is their forecheck was so good at getting pressure on the Oilers defenseman. And they did it once or twice, but if you can ever get past the pressure, you'll get odd man rushes, which is that's hockey in a nutshell, right? If you're going to forecheck, if you can ever get the puck past the forecheck, you'll get odd man rushes. That's tale as old as time in hockey, right? And they just couldn't quite do that.
I love in noon hour when Shaun starts to rush the puck a lot, because then he starts to get a little tired and you get the odd man rush. That's just true. I mean, it does a lot of good out there, right? But every once in a while.
And when I'm on the ice, you also get odd man rushes because I'm not backchecking.
Well, there's a lot going on when I'm on the ice.
You, Dally, and Dave today was rough to go against.
I didn't think we even played that well.
That's because I had to go. We had to play on defense like ridiculously tough on that line. We did. Well, I mean, I ran poor Daly over like 3 times. I felt bad about the one. Literally took
One
his
out of
feet
the
out.
3.
Yeah, 1 out of 3. The other 2, Daly was running into me too.
I did like taking Dust out there just at the far blue line.
Yeah,
He wasn't very happy. I could tell when Dust
Jay's
isn't
still-
happy because he gets all feisty.
Jay does have a little bit of size advantage on me still.
Yeah, I'm going to use it until I'm like 82.
What is a success for the Oilers at the draft? Because the draft, a whole bunch of fireworks should happen, right? Like right now, is it, like if they do nothing, are you sitting there going, "What are you doing?" Or are you like, "No, that's okay."
I think success for me has nothing to do with the draft this year for the Oilers. Maybe success. No, I'm going to say the success at the draft for the Oilers would be to unload a couple contracts. So if they come out and they traded Arvidsson for a 4th rounder, and they came out and they traded Evander Kane for a prospect or whatever, and they were able to unload them to get set up for the free agency, I think that would be success. Maybe the other success you're going to see here in the last week is they get Frederick under contract, they get Bouchard maybe done before July 1st. Like if they get Bouchard done before July 1st, then they really know where they're at.
They're trying to sign McDavid this like right away here too, aren't
Right.
they? Like that'd be the other one
Like,
that
just
would be
get it done.
successful.
Connor, what do you want? I want 60 and a half. Okay, sign here.
That's how the deal's going to go.
Yeah.
What's funny about it is the top end guys. I remember Gretzky negotiating with McNall in LA, and McNall kept trying to pay him more, and Gretzky kept trying to take him down. With the best players in the league, like McDavid, he can write whatever number he wants, really, and you're going to pay it.
Yeah.
But he probably sits there and goes, "Yeah, but we need a team as well, so I can't take $25 million. So I'll take 15."
I'll take 15. I got to be highest paid player in the league when I sign. Otherwise, I'll get total crap from the NHLPA.
Yeah. Wow.
I got to be
What is the highest right now? 14 and a half?
14 at Draisaitl.
Draisaitl's got 14?
Is there anybody higher than him?
I don't think so.
What did Matthews sign at?
You'd have to look. So I think that'd be success. Unload a couple of them contracts. Sign Bouchard. If you could get McDavid locked in for another 8 years, it really helps you in free agency too. Mm-hmm. Now you go to Ekblad and go, yeah, we got McDavid and Draisaitl for the next 7 years.
Well, and here's the thing.
13.25?
Is that what Matthews signed?
Yeah, 4-year,
because he didn't sign the full 8 years.
$53 million contract with a cap hit of 13.25. So you're right. I didn't realize Draisaitl was going to be set to be the highest paid.
Yeah. So and then if McDavid came in $1 million higher at 15, I think that's right. If you sign McDavid right now and you sign Bouchard and then you sit there and go, okay, now what?
So everyone goes, well, McDavid might want out. And I sit there and go, he's been in the Stanley Cup Finals twice
In a row.
His best friend, Draisaitl, who he loves playing with, is on the Oilers, signed long term. I just can't see him
He's not
leaving
going
because it's like if I go somewhere else, I don't even know if the team's going to be good.
Well, and Hyman and Nugent Hopkins, through the other two of the 5 guys on the power play, are signed their long term.
Well,
So if they sign Bouchard, they're long term.
and I think he really gets along with Bouchard.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, Bouchard's a nice player to play with. Us sitting in the stands, we see the odd time where you wish he had a little more fire in his butt or he wouldn't put it up the middle once in a while. But I mean, he makes a lot of great outlet passes.
He
And if
thinks
you're
the game
McDavid and
well.
Draisaitl, that's what you're looking for.
he thinks the game well.
I've been about as hard on Bouchard as anyone. I thought he was fantastic in the playoffs. Did he against Florida? Did he have some? But we just talked about Wallman and Ekholm getting walked, and they're not like Ekholm's not supposed to get walked by anyone. And I thought Bouchard, he was faster than I thought. I've never seen him skate that hard. Like I'm like,
He went to
this
a
guy?
different level in the playoffs. this
Yeah, I
year.
thought so.
Absolutely.
Right, I'm watching him. I'm going, frick.
So, yeah, there's your success. Bouchard signed. Kane and Arvidsson are traded. Let's see what we got. July 1st.
Is there any other team you're watching this offseason that you think, like Florida would probably be one? Are they going to get Bennett, Ekblad, Marchand? Is there any way that,
I'm
or is there
interested what Toronto's going to do now.
I agree. I think because Toronto really is not that far away
They lost a 7 and
to the eventual champions. Like, they're not that far off. So it looks like they're letting Marner walk. Does Tavares come back for a team sweet deal of $6 million a year or something? Who are they replacing Marner with? And is Marner the guy they need to replace, or are they going hard after a guy like Ekblad?
Are they going hard after a guy like Bennett?
Right.
Yeah.
Actually,
Right.
I've heard lots about them going after Marchand, and I'm like, actually, Bennett's the guy they want, not
Yeah.
Marchand.
I know. I think
They want Marchand because Marchand is the leaf killer, but
Yeah.
But the
But
truth of the
Bennett's-
matter is
Bennett's
Bennett's the
the-
young one who
Bennett's the
could be
guy.
there for 8 years.
Yeah.
And
where did Bennett grow up?
He's Ontario, isn't he?
So he must have been a Leafs fan growing up, right?
I'm just off the top of my head. I mean, he could have been Cuba for
That's
all I know. But
that's the thing that the Leafs always have going for them is most of the kids who grew up in Ontario
Yeah.
are Leafs fans.
yeah,
So you can actually, like John Tavares.
yeah. Sam Bennett is
Holland Landing East Gwillimbury? Where the heck is that?
over there.
So you got the right Sam Bennett.
A regional municipality of York
Oh.
in south central Ontario.
there
Do I
you
got
go.
the right Sam Bennett? Yeah, I got the right Sam Bennett.
I don't know.
Jackass.
So he's from York, Ontario. Is that what you're trying to tell
That's
us right
what
now?
basically they had to go Holland Landing. I'm like, what's going on? Yeah, so an Ontario boy,
Yep.
right? Like,
Who knows?
Now, so we've acted like somebody else is gonna be able to resign these guys. If you're Bennett, Marchand, especially if you're Bennett, Ekblad,
you want to stay in Florida.
you do, don't you?
Yeah.
Like if I'm Bennett right now, I'm going, Leafs are going to offer me 10. Would I stay in Florida for 8? I probably would.
Yeah.
Give me 8 by 8, 64 million. I can survive the rest of my life.
Yeah. And who knows?
Let's
maybe
go
I got
see
a
if we
couple
can
more
make
cups.
history and win 3 cups in a row and become a dynasty. Like that's what's on my mind
The first dynasty in the last 40 years.
since the Oilers.
Their current, we've been talking a lot about the Oilers and their cap space. They have 19 million current cap.
The problem is they've
Florida.
got
Yeah, they got
Ekblad
3 big boys.
and Bennett.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So
Marchand.
another team on my mind, not that I care about them or I do or don't, but the Rangers absolutely laid an egg last year. They were supposed to be one of the top teams in the league and were terrible. So what do? They already traded Kreider to Anaheim. Like, are they going to dismantle a little bit, or are they going to be able to do it on the fly and be right back in the playoffs next year? And let's be honest, if you're looking at the Rangers, what's one of their problems? Probably a lack of a Bennett and Marchand and Ekblad on that team too. They're pretty soft. Zibanejad, Panarin, Fox. I mean, their top guys are not exactly, Lafreniere is a nice, hardworking kid from Quebec, right? Like,
So you're saying Sam Bennett to the Rangers?
well, I'm just saying.
You go back to Ekblad and you're like, oh, any team should be in on him. But
Yes.
Sam Bennett's the same way,
Yes.
right? You think
those are the top two in my mind.
What about the Carolina Hurricanes? Where are you at with that team right now? Like, they must be just thoroughly disgusted.
Well, they've made the conference final. Was it 3 times in the last 6 years or
Yeah.
something?
Like,
And
you just,
haven't-
like, so
and-
what do you do there?
I think it's more than that. Oh no,
That might be.
They need
Like
a goaltender.
they've made it. They've made it past the first round like 6 times in 6 years.
Yeah.
But can't
Nothing
get
to
over
show
the
for
hump.
it. So what are you doing there?
I don't know.
Trading for Patrick Laine?
well,
and
they
already
lit-
took their shot with
with the guy from Dallas now, Colorado,
Rantanen.
Rantanen. They had Rantanen,
They took their shot.
and Rantanen didn't want to stay there. So you go, well, who are you bringing in there?
Oh.
Well, someone like Bennett would probably.
How
fit
about
in
how
really
about
nicely.
Patrick Marner?
Mitch Marner.
Mitch Marner.
They're talking Mitch Marner to Vegas.
to Vegas?
Yeah. Peter Angelo is going on LTIR.
Of course he is.
$8.8 million a year.
Yeah, of course
For
he
how
is.
long? Till the playoffs start?
They said they figured about April 16th or something-ish.
Pulling the old Vegas, right? Like, I mean,
Well, the Oilers did do that with Vander Kane.
They did. Tampa Bay's done it quite well, too.
yeah.
Kane showing up on first game.
If you're
of the
Tampa
playoffs.
Bay, are you running it back? What are you doing there?
I don't know.
Well,
See, Tampa Bay, I could actually see where they would be in the market. I mean, again, anybody wants Bennett and Ekblad, but I could see where Tampa Bay goes out and says, you know what, we're going to add a little Patty Kane. We're just going to throw a little more depth in our top 6. We got some really talented guys, and this allows us to have 2 lines that can score. I could see something like
Patrick Kane
that.
going to get you by Florida?
Who's going to get Tampa Bay by Florida?
I don't know. That's the problem right now.
Maybe you could just get a guy to run over Bobrovsky.
There's been dumber things said. Like, where's Nick Kiprios to run him over? Like, really?
Hey, that guy turned it into a career.
I know.
Eh?
we were all
No,
waiting.
he's still got a career out of it because he's on the freaking air.
That's
We,
what I
we
mean.
were all waiting for Corey Perry to run Bobrovsky over, weren't we?
Yeah.
Right? Sam Bennett did it.
Or Janmark, or you know what?
Evander Kane?
Just know your role. If you're playing on the 4th line, there might come a
fall,
time
bang.
that
Pug Coles and just tripping the slot. And
well, you might have to be there, and if someone happens to push you like they did Bennett in the first game or second game, whatever that was, then you just fall in
First
their
game
forearm
and
first,
second game.
right?
that's right.
Stick first into the throat. I mean, who's going to notice?
On a completely different note, they were talking about oil going with everything going on in the Middle East, up to $100. Do you think that's low, high? Do you think?
So here's the thing: is everyone keeps talking about it. You know, if bombs fell and straits got closed and all the rest of it. But you know what oil's doing right now? Same thing it's been doing for months. Maybe the last year. It has not moved.
Just keeps taking. It feels like a different industry than it used to.
Yeah, it just
feels like with so many technological advances, and with everything going on, it just doesn't feel like we have that same up and down anymore.
You know what's funny is there's so much smoke when it comes to what's going on in the world, and then it's almost like no one believes any of it. And it all is sitting right there, but it's kind of not, and no one's sure what to believe anymore.
So did they actually bomb it, Iran, or is that just the media?
Well, no, they did.
Do we know for sure?
Well, I don't know.
Hey?
Was it AI?
Maybe it's like landing on the moon.
Maybe it's AI. But like, there's a little blip of oil going up, and then it came back down, and it's sitting where it's at. And
we all carry on. Dust makes millions. Jay tries to survive. Hey.
Okay, one final question, because we were having this argument. Jay wasn't a part of it, and I almost pissed myself laughing at Dustin and Harley going back and forth. Is it easier to hide players in hockey or baseball?
I think okay, so are we talking at the house league levels in Pee Wee? Or sorry, U11 for all you
U13.
U13, that one too. Or are we talking about at the pro ranks? Because it makes a difference. But here's why. One of the reasons it's hard to hide a guy in the house is because everybody squawks. So you can't just hide, you got to play him. Right? You got to play him. In the pro levels, you can hide a guy in the fourth line in hockey because he sees 3 minutes a game and nobody cares.
All I was saying was in minor hockey, minor ball.
Yes. Oh, so we're talking kid sport.
What I was saying here's what I was saying.
You had lots of time to refine your answer too.
Yeah, sure. So in minor hockey, if you've got a team with tier 1 and tier 5 caliber hockey players, the tier 5 caliber hockey player is
which you've actually played on back in your day.
Sure. The tier 5 hockey players don't touch the puck. Essentially.
You didn't pass the puck to your fellow Hillmonites?
In ball, so much is pitching and hitting that even if you got a tier 1 kid playing with tier 5 players on a ball team, so much of it is pitching and hitting that the tier 5 kid hitting doesn't affect the tier 1 kid hitting. The tier 1 is going to get the same number of pitches. The tier 5 kid's going to get the same number of pitches. Now you go, well, that might affect whether you can win or lose. Yeah, fair enough. You need all good
But the
players.
question is where is it easier to hide? So you have a hockey team that's full of AA guys and they got a D guy, and you got a ball team that's full of AA guys and they got a D guy. Which one's easier to hide the guy?
The baseball. Without a doubt. For sure.
Shaun?
My only thought is it just depends on position, because if your D guy is a goaltender, that's pretty hard to hide.
Yeah.
I will say football. Okay? Because they take as many kids will come, and then they don't see a snap.
Yeah, well, they don't play them.
Yeah, well, they just hide them. Hey? You know what I love is all the woke teachers out there, it doesn't matter about volleyball, right? They can sit all the kids they want, volleyball, basketball, football, but everybody just loses their mind in hockey and baseball.
I tell you what, if you're in the States, though, probably a different story.
Probably.
Baseball and football being two big sports down there.
Mm-hmm.
And hockey.
So you're telling me there's no D players on the football team down in
the States?
No, there is, but I'm sure.
And what do they do with them?
I'm sure it's a bigger.
I'm sure they run their bags off them and they sit on the bench.
Give them a clipboard and say,
tell them to run the music. Anyways, that'd have been funny if Harley was here. So,
sorry, Harold.
I was actually saying in baseball, it's easier to play D players with tier 1 players on a team. Or the development for the players doesn't change that much, because your pitching and hitting isn't dependent on your D players or your tier 1 players. It's each kid
I think we've all played on the teams where you had the top guys and the bottom guys, especially coming from small towns, and if your top guys are good enough, you tend to score enough goals to beat most teams, and you kind of hide the bottom guys, and they go out there and they work hard and get the puck out. And in ball, if you get enough bottom guys playing in the lineup, they can really be a rally killer. Oh, yeah. I'm not saying you're wrong, because I think it can. I just think it can be both ways. There's ways to hide players. It's fun when you get to the AA level. But the funny thing is, I find it doesn't matter which level. You could be coaching D, and you got the 3 bottom players. And you can be coaching B, and you got the 3 bottom players. You can be coaching AA,
And you got
and
three,
you got 3 bottom players, right? Like, it doesn't seem like that all the time. You never have this team where everybody is so awesome.
That's
You got
exactly
Neunauer.
right.
We still had our bottom players.
Look at the Oilers.
Sorry, Sam.
Hey, to shout out to Sam, he scored a hat trick today on Mustard.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So you look at the Oilers, you got your 3 bottom players. No matter what you've got, you're always going to have players that are bubble kids.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. And as a coach, you got to find a way to keep them as part of the team and develop them so that they're, instead of being down here, they're a little bit higher.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Really. Because the McDavid.
Did we actually answer the question?
I don't know if we answered the question. We kind of talked around it.
So McDavid, you don't actually have to coach all that much because he's so good.
Right.
And he's probably easier to coach anyhow because he's so good.
Yeah.
But where your coaching really comes
I don't
is
know
bringing
about that. When McDavid's not back checking and you're getting scored on, which has happened, do you think that's an easier, harder conversation than, say, Podkolzin, who you can just throw out of the lineup? I would say it's a harder conversation.
It's a different conversation for sure. It's a lot more precarious of a conversation because you cannot treat McDavid like you would Podkolzin. Podkolzin, you can have a very direct and harsh conversation with him. With McDavid, you're not having that conversation.
And wouldn't you say that's Carolina? Carolina treats everyone like they're Podkolzin.
Which is why Rantanen didn't want to
Which is why Rantanen didn't stay there.
Which is why they're always going to be a really good team, but probably a never great team because they're not going to have top-end talent.
Well, Sebastian Aho is a top-end talent, but you just got to find the right guys.
Sebastian Aho...
Mark Messier would have been the right guy in that team.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Jonathan Taves would have been the right guy in that team.
Yes.
Maybe even Nathan McKinnon. Fair?
But your top-end guys, I don't think want to go to Carolina because they want to be...
Well, if they
No,
paid
I'm just
some
saying,
prima
if you
donnas.
found the right top-end guy, JT Miller would go there.
Yeah,
Elias
but-
Pettersson would not.
So Jonathan Taves might go there.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Kane not. But Jonathan Taves didn't put up the numbers that Patrick Kane did. And Chicago needed both those guys to win a championship. So you sit there and go, you don't want those guys. And it's like, no, some of those guys bring a certain skill set and talent. I'll give you another example. Randy Moss was probably
one of the greatest wide receivers of his time.
That's right. But he was probably a prima donna.
Oh, he was.
For sure. And so you go, well, we don't want him because you're prima donna. It's like, no, you need some of those guys that bring high-end skill sets, but you're just going to have to deal with the other side of that.
Well, that reminds me of Phil Kessel. Because Phil Kessel, as the top guy in Toronto, couldn't drive the bus. But then they threw him with Crosby and Malkin and Letang and Fleury and guys.
Kunitz and
lots of leadership there. And old Phil was out there on the second, third line doing his thing and was perfectly fine to win cups.
Won 2 cups.
Right?
As a coach, you got to find a way to bring the best out of your players while treating everyone about the same.
But not the same.
But not the same.
So my answer, to give you a straightforward answer, because I don't know what the hell that was, is I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but I don't know if that answered the question. The question, I would prefer to hide, if I had to hide one player, I would prefer to hide him on a baseball team. Just like Dustin says. After all the rhetoric.
After all the rhetoric, I think I switched my answer to football. We just sit him on the bench, give him a clip.
I'm not wrong with football, though, am
You
I?
just think how many players a guy, you're like...
Don't worry, bud. You'll get in there next year,
Yeah,
eh?
that's right. Yeah.
See, the thing that actually surprises me about football is they do it. I'm going to be fair to them. Most coaches do it. Is they'll get up like 32-0 and then
Bring in the B team.
yeah,
Or get down 32-0 and bring in the B team.
yeah, right. So I mean, they do it how it's supposed to be done.
You know what's funny is that I think back 30, 40 years ago when I was playing like volleyball or basketball.
You played volleyball and basketball?
Yeah, I did.
Interesting.
You didn't?
I played some volleyball. I never did play basketball. Not
Junior
one
high.
day. That's why I'm not very good at it.
I
I know I can jump really high.
You know how I know I was not a good volleyball player? In Hillmond, I sat on the bench.
I did not sit on the bench. Dust, did you?
I didn't sit on the bench.
No.
I sat on the bench.
You know how I was a really bad basketball player? Because back when I used to have the house.
Also, I know I'm not a good volleyball player because back in college when Mel was playing, they invited out a bunch of the hockey guys to come play a game against them.
Yeah.
And I'm dating the captain, and I didn't get invited. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can take a hint. I can take a hint.
Sean's not blocking anything at
No.
the net.
No. I'm the setter. Right?
You know how I was the worst player in basketball? Because when I owned a house 2 doors down from Home Adults and Colby was there, and we used to play a basketball game with my 3 younger brothers, I'd be put on the team with the one basketball player who was Kobe because I sucked that bad. And I was okay with it. And you know the other reason I know is because when I get the ball, nobody comes and gets me. You know why? Because they want me to shoot because I can't shoot. So, no, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead. I just want to throw the ball at someone's head.
So that's what I was doing to Sammy today. You want to shoot? Yeah, go give her. I'm going to cover Dave or whoever. Yeah. And then he goes and tucks 3. You're like,
I do the same
that's
thing.
a rough day.
I think
that's a rough day.
I think back 40 years ago in all those sports, kids sat on the bench a lot. Like volleyball, basketball, fastball or baseball back in the day. Like you just sat on the bench a lot more.
I never did that a lot.
No, I don't mean me in general. I was a pretty good athlete, but
Oh.
I mean in general.
Hey, we'd hate to have
Not all of us sat on the bench in volleyball, did we, Dustin?
Yeah, let's shoulder tap here. A little back pat, Dust.
No, I remember.
I was pretty good, he says.
No, but I remember kids sitting on the bench for long periods of time because winning was more important, I guess, or winning was everything. And
well, it was just
it wasn't everything, but when you're playing in
it was a world. But it was a world where you worked hard to get better to deserve it. It wasn't just given. Right, and you train people to be like that. So you're training young individuals that you just don't get. You don't get to just show up and have the world given to you. You got to work for it.
But I'll put it to kids' sports right now. So we just finished U9 baseball, and all year long U9 baseball, we don't keep track of score, and then you get to the final tournament. And this year, I thought it was really cool for the kids. Right, wins mattered. There was semifinals, an A final, and all year long they don't do things like that. So the kids
know.
The kids do know, 100%. They're asking the score all the time. They're keeping track of the score. But during the game, there's nobody keeping score.
Yeah.
The wins don't matter. The losses don't matter. There's
we don't want to hurt any parents' feelings.
I actually don't. I sitting on the board, I actually don't know why it turned into that. Because they look at it as development, right? We're going to develop these kids into baseball athletes. But if I look at hockey the same way, we have our U7 or U9 home tournament, and there's no A final. And as a kid, I can remember playing in U7, in Tom Thumb, and there always being an A final. Yep. Like always.
Yep.
I have pictures of getting a second place trophy, and like I can, when I watch my kids react to losing, I'm like, well, they inherited that from me because I've seen the pictures. But we always went to tournaments. There was always winners and losers. If you didn't get out of your pool, then you didn't get anything.
But isn't that where you also taught about good sportsmanship?
100%.
Right? How to lose properly.
Well,
how to motivate you to do better, to practice. I used to have the thing with the girls when I was coaching them that if they won, and they were a pretty successful team, but if we tied or lost on a weekend, then we hard skated the next week. And if they went out there and worked hard and got both games, there was a reward, and we didn't hard skate. Now, what I did is I had hard practices, but I didn't have the bag skate. And you're just teaching people that hard work, there's rewards for it, and if you lose, there's a way to come. Like there's so many lessons in sport, and you can still have a good coach. And I've made my mistakes back in my day too, where I look back and I should have played someone a little more, or given them more incentive, or put them in a different position to succeed. But it's all a learning process, and if you get good coaches and understand that, and give everybody a position to succeed on the team, you're helping develop that kid. You don't know what his background is. And I've seen kids where you can't send out a kid to go be the top scorer on the team if he's not there to do it, because now you're going to hurt him because the other kids are going to make fun of him or give him a hard time. He feels bad. He's nervous. Give him a spot to succeed. It'll build his confidence, and then he starts to go. And that's just my take on it.
So looking at U13 ball this year, so this is not U9. This is a little bit older even. We did keep track of scores during the games, and the kids cared. At the same time, the league didn't really do anything with them. Like it wasn't, playoff positioning, anything like that. We did have a year-end tournament where wins, losses mattered. There was a champion, there was silver, there was bronze. And if I look at the whole year as a whole, I think it actually worked out really well. The kids all played during the regular season. Because the games weren't for positioning or anything, all the kids played. It's not like you went, well, we're going to play these kids more, these kids less. You look at it all and you go, no, we need to develop all the kids for the end of the year. And the kids, for the most part, showed up and tried hard, and that's all you want to see, right? And then at the end of the year, you had a tournament, and it's a little bit more, well, no, we're here to win now, and so the players that work the hardest, that tried the best, that have the best skill sets, they play a little bit more than the kids that don't. everyone gets to hit, so that's all fair. But in the field, it's no different than pitching. You need kids that can pitch. You can't have a kid out there
Not
who
everybody
can't
can
pitch.
pitch.
No, that's right. And so if I look at it all, you develop the kids all throughout the year, and everyone plays, and it's all good. Now you are keeping tracks and wins, losses, and runs for and against. That's all
But
good.
everybody
in the
knows
individual
anyways. Like,
team.
who are we kidding?
No, for sure, and the kids care.
Well,
But all I'm saying is, it's not like the league used that to, not have teams make the playoffs or anything like that. And at the end of the year, we did have wins, a year in tournament where there was a champion. So I think it was the best of both worlds.
one of the sports that shocked me that still gives out first, second, third, and I don't know why. Well, I just was shocked by it. Shea did cross country last year, right? So his first race he's racing against, I think it's grade 5s. And he placed 5th. And listen, if anyone's met me, they know I'm not a runner. I don't, especially long form running. I'm like, oh, what a painful thing. And so Mel and I, when we're, Shea signed up for it, we're like, he signed up because all his buddies were doing it. Okay, fine. We'll see how long this lasts. I remember making a joke about it, just kind of myself, like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And the first race he did, he went racing off. And I'm like, oh, he better pace himself. That's a terrible. And then he placed 5th. And they gave out ribbons to the first 10. So that means if you placed 11th, you got nothing. And there was a lot of cries and a lot of tears. And Shea got the 5th, and I watched him. And he's like, so wait, if I get first, I get a first place? It's probably the first time in his life he's been given a 5th and realize he's walking the kids and he's realizing there's a first. And so he's on the ride home and he's going, I can't wait to get first. I'm going to get first. So then he gets first. I watched him in Lloyd against all of his hockey buddies, and he's got one chasing him the entire way, and he gets first, and he's pumped. And I'm like, why is it that cross country is the one sport still doing first, second? I do not want anybody to take that away from them, because kids push themselves way harder when they know first is on the line, more so than bragging rights. There is a ribbon to go with that. And last year they did, I think it's regionals or districts, one of the two, and there was probably 150 kids out at Maidstone, out at Silver Lake. And he's racing now against, for sure, grade 5s as a grade 2er out of 150 kids, roughly. And half the time I can see him leading the way, and I'm like, holy crap, like, what is going on here? And he plays 6th. And he is like, he's sitting in the group photo of the top 10, and there's a couple of grade 5 kids going, what are you doing here? How did you get here? Right? There's this little grade 2er in there, but it's winning. It's getting a top 10 ribbon. And you know what's funny about him? I go, so you're going to do it next year? Now I'm pumped. I think I'm coming to cross country, Dad. I don't know, Dad. I liked it, but I don't know. I'm like, what? Like, if you keep that mindset, you'll be first, and you'll get to go to higher levels, because as you get older and you place first, then you get to go to provincials and on and on and on.
See, for me, it wasn't about the ribbon. I wanted to finish in the top 2 so you could go to Battleford and miss a day of school. Okay? I
can relate to that.
Yes.
So you know something else that still does it? 4-H. Now, not at the very, very young kids when they're first starting out, because they really don't have placings, and they don't really compete at all. But as soon as you become a junior, and that starts at like grade 3 or something like that, they have placings for every class. If you're in public speaking, they do. And so someone like Owen, that's something he looks forward to, because he's really good at public speaking. And so he looks forward to competing and winning every year, because that's something he's really good at. But it goes for all the 4-H events. You got your different classes, plus your showmanship, plus your grooming, and all that stuff. And you can get first down to 7th or whatever. And there's been years where the kids have got last place and they're just tore up. The judge didn't like something or asked them a question they didn't know the answer to, and they're just mad and they hate that judge, and it's a big deal.
But they work at it next year.
Because they
don't want to be last again.
They want to improve.
Yeah. Or, you know what else happens, just to be truthful, is sometimes, if you're talking track and field, they don't go in that event next year. They pick a different event, or they go in piano.
I go back to volleyball.
Or
Sitting
they go
on the
do
bench
something
sucked.
good. Yeah. So did you play volleyball the rest of your life?
No, I didn't.
You pick a sport you're good at.
Did you go play junior in college?
Yeah.
In hockey? Yeah, you did. It's okay. We're not all going to be, the fastest on the 100-meter dash.
I go back to triathlon. We're swimming. Harley and I are decent swimmers, and Shaun looks like a tugboat out there. He's built like a tugboat.
We go to this triathlon in Okotoks. Okay, you remember we were training that summer, and I'm playing junior hockey at this point, so I'm in good shape. I'm in great shape, and we're in the Okotoks. Forgive me, Okotokians. we're in the lake, and we have to do 2 laps.
The Okotoks Lake?
500 meters, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I get in board shorts, and I'm watching all these guys, and they got like these spandex suits and like everything, and I'm like, oh boy. Anyways, I get in there, and after the first lap, I'm doing the doggy paddle, okay? And then they all lap me because you got to do 2, and I'm like getting hit in the face, and I'm like, I might as well just sat there, but I had to doggy paddle now for whatever it was, 20 minutes, and my body's killing me. So I'm sitting there, and I'm just slowly going around my second lap, and there's a guy pulls up in a canoe. I'm like, are you here to make sure I don't drown? And he's like, yes, I am. I'm like, all right. And so I am the second last out of the lake. There's 2 of us. And I tell you what, I was so thankful I got back to land. I'm like, I'm never doing this ever again. I'm never swimming a long distance. I watched those videos of people who've swam, like days on end. I'm like, I'd be drowned. I'd be dead. There's just no way about it. My body makeup is not built for water. In that same race, I placed like second in the bike out of everyone. Well, just put me on a team, coach. I don't need to be the swimmer because I suck. And I am lucky I didn't drown in Okotoks that day. That was awful. The sea was very angry that day, my friends. It was not fun. So, yes, Dustin and Harley, great swimmers. Shaun, not so much.
I'm not good either.
But it comes down to body shape. And when it comes to biking, Shaun's got these quads that are massive.
How many hills did you beat me across in Canada, Dustin?
Well, there was one.
I don't think so.
There was one.
There's one across
There was
Canada.
one.
I think Dustin has this. He's
there
created
was
this
one.
memory in
There
his
is
head
one.
where there was one. I don't think there was one.
There was one.
You know how many times he tried? Every single day. And sometimes I'd let him get a little ways ahead, and then I would just reel him in to piss him off. It's the only time. One of the hills I lost was in Quebec to a black guy who was a runner. And me and him were going up this big, long hill. And partway up it, I think we both realized what was going on. And he started sprinting, and I started biking as hard as I could. And you got to remember, I'd come out of junior hockey. Now we're across, 3-4 provinces. My legs are brick. They are solid. And we went as hard as we could up of whatever it was. And he beat me by, I swear, a hair. And I should have sat and had a conversation, but we both looked at each other, chuckled, and carried it on. That's the only person I remember beating me on any flipping hill. So Dustin keeps talking about
which hill was
magic hill.
So what was the magic hill?
It was in Newfoundland. It was early on.
I did in Newfoundland.
I did beat him on one hill. That me beating you going up one hill, even though you don't remember it, reminds me of
that when he blew his tire?
When Jason and he might have blown a tire. Because he was so mad. Anyhow, This reminds me of Jason and I getting off the bus and racing up the hill after school. And Jason used to do the same thing with me. Being 3 years older, he'd let me get partway up the hill and then go, and he beat me every time. But there was one time.
Make it interesting.
There was one time.
Yep.
Where I got off the bus and started sprinting right away. And I don't know if Jason was chatting with someone and didn't realize what was going on, and I got far enough ahead where I actually beat him up the hill.
Yes.
That was the one time.
And it just sticks in your mind, eh?
It does. It was a proud moment.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, this weekend playing U9 ball tournament, it was like miserable. Cold, raining, everything. I was saying to the other coaches, but these kids will remember this. Like, you just don't forget that, the wins and losses years later will be fade into oblivion, right? They won't remember that, but they will remember standing out in it just didn't rain hard enough to stop a game. Yeah. So they're sitting out there. They got 5 layers on, still playing ball. And I'm like, this is ball. This is ball.
What's funny about that is I had a kid to me we're gonna call it rain delay, right? And it's spitting. Not like it's you can hardly feel it. And I'm like, no, we're not calling it rain delay. Oh, well, it's raining though. I'm like, yeah. No, I realize it's cold and it's miserable, but it's not even making the ground right. Wet kid, just get back out there.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Appreciate you coming in. This will do it for another Brothers Roundtable, a couple months.
See you next spring?
Yeah, we got to do it probably, what do you think, opening day maybe?
Yeah, sure. Before the season starts?
Before the season starts?
Yeah. Yeah, because we got to have some predictions.
We got to have some predictions. We got to have a little bit of fun to start the season out.
Yeah.
And then it'll be back next April.
Maybe should we have, what we should do is we'll have 2 or 3 predictions. Can't have 4 because we can't all win a silver coin. So we've got to have 2 or 3 and maybe one guy wins 2 or 3 coins, or maybe they're spread out, but 2 or 3 predictions.
There you go. Jay trying to work the silver coins in his
Sure.
favor.
Well, I'm
all
trying to
over
build my
again.
retirement. Eh?
Yes. Folks, thanks for following us for a Brothers Roundtable playoff stretch. And thanks, gentlemen, for hopping in and doing this. Shout out to Harles, who couldn't be here tonight. It's my own fault. The recording, it didn't work. So we had one for a bit, and Harley was here. Couldn't make the second one. So, story of our lives. Anyways, thanks again, gentlemen. And we'll catch up to you here